Hello, all, and welcome back into the Second City Hockey Ice Cold podcast. We're again in an unusually long off season. As this is Robert Zaglinski, as always, joined by my co-host Adam Hess. Adam, how are you doing today?
I'm okay. I've been doing a whole lot of nothing on this Friday. Had the day off, so I feel really tired, but I think it's a welcome tired.
No, it's a perfect tired. It's better than being completely worn down and busy. We're joined today by NHL writer, NHL editor, NHL guy that makes content for SB Nation, Pat Iverson. Pat, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I think you can just call me like NHL player, man, person. I don't know. I do stuff.
He does stuff for SB Nation. He writes up great content. Check him out. We have him on talking to him today.
Makes bad puns on the
he makes
SB
bad
Nation
puns.
NHL Twitter account.
He's unfortunately a
Yep.
Stars fan. Unfortunately.
Yep.
You wanted to, you advertised it, so rub it into us since we're Hawks fans. Rub it into.
Oh yeah. So how's Steven Johns doing for you guys? How's that? Oh, sorry, no, he's not on your team anymore. Let me rephrase that. How
Oh
are
my
Trevor
gosh.
Daley and Ryan Garbutt doing? Oh wait, hold on. Let me rephrase that. How's Rob Oh wait. That is one of the. I do want to talk about that today because
That's such a mess. It's such a mess.
it's such a bizarre series of trades and guys coming in and out, and I don't know what the thought process was there, but I don't know. We don't have to talk about that if you guys want.
Well,
I know it might
We
be
can talk
crazy.
about it a
Road-
little bit. We
road
talked about it a
map
couple
drive.
weeks ago. We talked about it a couple weeks ago, and I said that I really think that if you look back on it, that trade changed the Blackhawks' whole season in terms of getting Daly and then turning Daly into Scuderi and then turning Scuderi into Ehrhoff, who Q wouldn't play. Whereas if they hadn't even got Daly, if they had just sent Sharp for even Garbutt and a second round pick or something like that,
Right.
they would have had the cap space to re-sign Oduya, and then they probably wouldn't have had the blue line issues they had this year, and
Mhm.
probably would still be playing hockey right now. But it's kind of that's
Yeah.
all waxing poetic and revisionist history, and it's all 2020. But
Right.
Well, Ryan Garbutt isn't. I resent that. Ryan Garbutt wasn't. Come on, stop. Don't.
Well-
He wasn't that big a loss.
he wasn't a big loss. But then getting Yuri SCH was pretty
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
But then they just waived him and let the Coyotes have him. So now they literally still have nothing left to show for that trade because they're probably not going to re-sign Ehrhoff.
Yeah, from an outsider's perspective, it seemed like okay, so you're gonna trade Johns, who is one of your top defensive prospects. You're gonna trade Sharp because you have to. You're getting Daly and Garbutt back, who, I mean, as a Stars fan, that was great. Sure, take him, go for it. But it seemed like after that they didn't stick with anything. They just they tried out Garbutt and Daly for a little bit, and as soon as it didn't work, they decided to move on, and then they moved on, and then they moved on. I don't know. It seemed like it was a weird lack of patience for that club.
Well, I don't think. I mean, in my opinion, I always thought Garbutt wasn't going to be long for the Blackhawks. I thought that he was going to be a placeholder, and so when he was traded, it was kind of like, okay, there it is. I was much more surprised that Daly didn't really. I kind of feel like he didn't really get a fair shake here. Maybe from I don't want to blame Joel Quenneville, but I think that Quenneville was a little impatient with him.
Blame Joe Quenneville.
And if you look at the ways that he used him compared to the ways that he had been used in Dallas previously, and where people thought he was a good defenseman, he had been used on the penalty kill a lot, used used in a two-way role, whereas the Hawks seemed to want to use him as just offense, and it really affected his game, and I think that was really backwards. And
Yeah, Daly's never been. He's never been a pure offensive guy. He's been more of the kind of guy who'll get you out of your zone real quickly, and he'll drive the pace of play forward. There was I forget where I read this, but there was a difference. They were talking about there's a difference between there's puck movers and puck, I don't know, shooters or whatever. I don't remember the exact term, but Daly's definitely one of those puck movers.
Stay-at-home defenseman. I think that's what you mean.
Yeah, it's kind of it's so you have an offensive defenseman, but is he a puck mover or is he just a guy who'll, I don't know how to describe it, but Daly's definitely a two-way guy who'll get you out of your zone a lot, and if you just rely on him for puck distribution in your own zone and shots on net, that's not his sole role, you know.
And I think like it's just absolutely confirmed in the way that he's played in Pittsburgh. Like they've used
Yep.
him in that more two-way role.
Yep.
It's just really weird because Joe Quenneville, like I don't know, Daly didn't really seem like the kind of guy that Quenneville would love, but he seemed like a guy that could fit for Quenneville, like playing that two-way kind of game, even if he was just paired with like Duncan Keith and kind of playing that kind of style. Like not that he had to be a first pair defenseman or whatever, but like when I looked at the way that like he was used, like I think he averaged like 2 seconds of penalty kill time in his time in Chicago because he only killed a penalty once, I think. And then it was just like it was so weird, like him not getting that opportunity to kind of play the two-way game instead of Quenneville wanting to like shoehorn him into this offensive role, almost like a Nicoletti type when he was
Right.
here. That it like he wasn't a fit for it. And when you bring him in to kind of be your Johnny Oduya replacement, but then you don't use him in that role even at all, it's like really backwards. And sometimes I think that's why there's like a disconnect between Quenneville and Bowman, where like they don't like Bowman thinks, okay, he can replace Oduya because he can play a two-way game, and Quenneville goes, I don't want him to play a two-way game, and then it's like, well, then what the heck? Why did we do that in the first place? I could have gotten something else and kept Oduya.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, from an outsider's perspective, because I wouldn't know. Did the Stars use Daly in that fashion?
Yeah, we did. We did. We used him. Well, do you mean from a purely offensive point of view, or
Well,
is it?
in the best in that two-way fashion that you're talking about.
Yeah, we did, but more out of necessity, I think, because our blue line was terrible for so many years that Daly was the go-to guy. You know, as soon as we lost, I think it was Philippe, Zubov. As soon as you lost Robidoux, Daly suddenly your number one guy. So we had to use him in a penalty-killing role. I think he was good at it. He's not your ideal penalty killer. But we used him at a necessity in a two-way role because we needed him to be that player. So if Chicago wanted to use him in that role, they could have. Who did they use instead on the penalty kill?
I think it was Trevor Van Riemsdyk.
Yeah, Trevor Van Riemsdyk.
Which,
Hey,
I mean,
he played a lot of minutes. He's really valuable. If anyone wants him, he's really valuable. I'm just saying.
I mean, yeah, and I was just talking about like, because I remember looking at the stats like from last year. I think it was Adam Gretz who wrote about it for CBS like way back in November. I might be having the wrong person, but someone just compared his usage in Chicago compared to his usage in Dallas. And in Dallas, he was averaging like a minute and a half of penalty kill time a night, a minute and a half of power play time. In Chicago, it was like 2 minutes of power play, 0 penalty kill. Wasn't really it was heavily offensive zone starts, and his Corsi percentage was fantastic. Like his possession numbers were great, but like his contributions weren't all that fantastic overall. Just because he could control the possession doesn't mean that he was really he wasn't really like impacting the game positively. If you were watching the game, not to like diminish the necessity of stats or whatever, but if you were watching, you could see he was not hurting the team, but not helping the team either.
And it's interesting because you could use him as that, Swiss Army knife, both ends of the ice player if you want. In Dallas, he was forced into a role that, he had to be everything. It's the same as if you. So I wonder if Bowman had gotten someone like Alex Goligoski, right, from the Stars instead, would he also force him into an offensive role? Because he's been forced to be this defensive player for the Stars since they don't have anybody, or hadn't until Stephen Johns. Thank you. But he developed into a very strong two-way player who could log a lot of minutes, kill penalties. But so it was very strange to see someone like Daly, who's the same way, go to Chicago, and suddenly you're just going to use half of his game. So. And the problem, people were complaining about Daly here in Dallas because, he just turns the puck over so much, and he wasn't that great of a Corsi player here. But that's just because, he's not a number one defenseman. But in Chicago, if you put him there behind Seabrook, Keith, Hjalmarsson, he can be a positive player, not overexposed. Use him in the right situations, but you got to have patience and figure out a way to fit him in. And it seems like they didn't do that. Pittsburgh jumped on it, and they're benefiting from it. So
Right. And I think, like you said, like his game in terms of his defensive zone is a little more like offensive in that he gets the puck and gets it out. He's not going to make great defensive plays, but he's going to get the puck out of the zone.
exactly.
So like I can see where like he gets sort of the offensive defenseman like sort of like archetype maybe, but he's not like a Nick Leddy type, at least when Nick Leddy was here, where like you only want him to play offense.
Yeah, or like Erik Karlsson, where I mean, granted he gets a bad rap defensively, but offensively you want the puck on his stick in the offensive zone. That's what you want. Daily, you want him to get the puck, carry it out of your zone, and then dump it in and either chase after it and let the forwards come in, and then him pull back a little bit. That's his role. His role isn't to distribute the puck a lot in the offensive zone. It's to make sure it gets there. And he's thriving in that role in Pittsburgh because they already have a guy like Chris Letang who can be that Erik Karlsson type guy, whereas Daly, you can rely on him more as a two-way second pairing guy, which he would have been perfect in Chicago doing that if they had, not limited him to an offensive role. So yeah, it was just kind of bizarre. And then all the moves after that, it seemed like from a Dallas perspective that Bowman realized that he made a mistake by trading Sharp and Johns for a bad player in Ryan Garbutt and a player who he just misused in Daly, and then he just tried to catch up the rest of the year, and it didn't really work out.
Yeah, and I guess what was really weird to me was like even when they didn't really have to move Daly. He wasn't like playing horribly, not hurting the team. So then when you move him and just get Rob Scuderi, you're like, what are you doing there? Like, why?
Is he even still alive?
Yeah, like what was the thinking process there? Because Scuderi, like even if Daly like didn't really fit in the system, he's still gonna be more valuable to the team than Rob Scuderi is. It was just really, really weird.
Right.
I think, like you said, he's trying to like he's almost trying to like erase like that it even happened. Maybe no one being here from that trade is a good thing because people will like forget that it happened. But
Stars fans have not forgotten.
I know.
And y'all, well, it's the thing that sucks for you guys is that you're gonna have to play Stephen Johns for the next 10 years because that guy's good.
He's gonna be really good. Like he was supposed to. I think the thing that is like the worst about it as a Hawks fan, if you look at how it could have played out, is that the Hawks now have Brent Seabrook signed to almost $7 million for the next 8 years when he's already not really worth that contract. And if he was, if he was on the open market this year, he might have got that contract, but then we all probably would have mocked it. So the fact that the Hawks have him signed there when they could have like let him go and put Stephen Johns into that role and been younger and like arguably better, like it's just the
kind of
whole
funny.
breakdown is bad for the Hawks.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because like all last summer, Stars fans, well, okay, not last summer, the last decades, Stars fans have been pointing at the best available free agent who's supposedly up for a trade, and they're like, all right, that's our future number one defenseman. Last offseason, it was all about Brent Seabrook. Like, let's go trade for Brent Seabrook. But the fact that we ended up with Stephen Johns instead, who can turn into Brent Seabrook for a lot less money, kind of worked out, and that's why I have a shrine dedicated to Jim Nill in my closet.
How has Johns grown? What's like? Has he been everything that you've expected?
He's been more. I struggle with this because it seems like every single time a Stars prospect comes up for their first run, they do really, really well. Jason Dickinson came up, scored his first goal. Even if you want to go back to Fabian Brunstrom, he came up and had a fantastic first few months, and then me and my friends used to joke that since we never saw him again, that Tom Hicks had like chained him to a chair in the bowels of the AAC and won't let him out or something. But the Stars prospects always usually come onto the scene with a big, terrific performance, gets everyone excited, then they taper off a bit. And that usually happens within the first few weeks or so. Johns came up, and he was instantly our third best defenseman behind Klingberg and Goligoski. Better than Demers, obviously. But what is surprising about Johns to me is his ability to move the puck out of the zone and around defenders. He has his size, which is getting to comparisons to Darian Hatcher in the way he'll just obliterate a guy. But he's also so deft with the puck. He knows exactly what guy to pass to make the cleanest zone exits each time. And there's a couple noticeable plays, in the neutral zone where he'd have a guy bearing down on him, and he would just make a couple quick moves, and then suddenly you've got a guy breaking open down the other way. And those are the kind of moves that you saw John Klingberg make when he came up too. And it's just both guys who have such a great mind for the game too, that you don't usually see at that age. And he's so clean in his defensive zone as well. So, yeah, he's been surprising. I mean, of course, slump next year. But it's refreshing to see a defensive prospect look so polished already.
Just, you talking about just all that information is just breaking my heart.
I miss him so much, man.
I just think about it like it was like just he like I mean because after Teuvo Teravainen got called up and you basically could consider him a roster player, no longer a prospect. Stephen Johns was the best prospect the Hawks had.
Right.
And so
why did you trade him?
Well, that's the thing is like because if you look, so like I've rarely been one of the people to like really get on Bowman for the trade, but I just look at like what happened there. Where okay, you want to trade Patrick Sharp, you don't do it at the draft. That's okay. Yeah. We could, like there's going to be other opportunities maybe. You want to look for a defenseman and like get an NHL player in return. That's okay too. But then like Trevor Daley, if you just traded Sharp for Daley, okay, then like that's probably still a loss on the Hawks' part, but it's like a livable loss because you got the cap space and you got a defenseman. So you're like, okay, that's fine. But then you're like, okay, we want Garbett too, and so then you have to like throw in a little extra piece. And the fact that Bowman, he was backed into the corner because of the cap, but the fact that he was like, oh, okay, I'll give you Stephen Johns instead of someone like Ville Pokka, who's farther away from being NHL ready, might not even be NHL ready by next year.
I wouldn't even say that Ville Pokka matches Ryan Garbett in that scenario. Like we're talking about, I don't know, Garrett Ross.
Yeah.
Somebody so low on the totem pole that probably should never make the NHL.
The fact that you had to sweeten the deal to the point, like that you let them convince you to sweeten the deal to the point that you gave them a very good top 6 player and your best prospect, who was pretty much NHL ready.
He became our best prospect.
Right. Yeah. And he was our best prospect overall. And honestly, if you look at like the way that last year played out, like again, not to get like revisionist or hindsight is 2020, but I think with Stephen Johns in tow, a lot of the defensive issues that the Hawks had could have been mitigated because Stephen Johns probably would have been on the Hawks roster all year long. Definitely better than Michael Roosevelt, probably better than Trevor Van Riemsdyk already. So like you just put him in the lineup and he should fit, and like for all the reasons that you just stated, he should be able to play alongside somebody.
And also, it's I don't know, maybe this is old school thinking, but if I'm a GM, if a rival GM from my own division comes to me with a pretty good offer, but then asks me to sweeten the deal with one of my top 5 or top 10 prospects, no, I'm not doing it. It's not happening. You're not touching my top prospects because I'm not going to run the risk of playing them for the next 10 years in my own division. I don't know. It just seems so weird that the Stars were able to go out and somehow, I swear to God, Jim Nill is like, I don't know, a snake charmer or something. He manages to grab these prospects and players from GMs for prices that just do not stack up.
The Tyler Seguin trade is probably the best example.
Oh my God, yeah, it's like we woke up one day and suddenly like we had, I don't know, God as our GM or something, and it's just all these good trades he's made is just, I don't know, it's just weird. And I don't know, if I'm Stan Bowman, I'm kind of losing sleep over that, but I'm also not because I've won 3 championships in the last 6 years.
Something fans.
So yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
Well, enough depressing us, Pat. We have to pour a little salt in the wound, but I mean it's a necessary question. What went wrong for the Stars in the playoffs? Why did they ultimately bow out?
Because the St. Louis Blues know how to beat us. They do. The Stars. Well, first of all, I mean, if you want to point to goaltending, that's a huge problem. But and Kari Lehtinen has been trending downwards ever since his concussion a few years ago. He was a pretty good goalie up until that point, and somebody posted some graph the other day, and it's just a sharp decline ever since then. He's not a number one goalie. Antti Niemi isn't a number one goalie either. They made some terrible mistakes, but also the Stars couldn't match. It was interesting watching the Sharks the last couple games against the Blues because they have a similar game to the Stars in that they want to get through the neutral zone as quickly as possible. They want to force a turnover in the neutral zone and then go straight back at you. And it happened 3 or 4 times last night, and it burned the Blues each time. And whenever the Stars scored on the Blues, it was something like that. It was just a quick transition play. But the problem is if the Blues get you down a couple goals, then they'll start really heavy checking you in the offensive zone. And they know how to forecheck so well, and they know how to clog up the neutral zone so well. And if you don't have the size to match up with them, then you're kind of stuck. And the Sharks have that size. They have that ability to check just as hard. The Stars don't. The Stars are a speedy team who lack the the size to match up with them. And I also think it was just you lose Tyler Seguin, you lose a major threat. And Jamie Benn had everything on his shoulders, couldn't carry it himself. No bad thing for him. But I'm not upset about it because we took the Blues to 7 games with a weak lineup and the terrible goaltending. And it's a bunch of inexperienced kids who just got their first taste. So I think if the playoffs, it would be exactly where they exited.
That's exactly what you expected?
Well, it's my high water mark. Like if we're gonna go out, I hope it's at the end of 7 games in the second round.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I didn't expect us to win it all this year, but it would have been nice if they had gotten to the conference finals. But we won our first playoff series in 8 years. So, which is coincidentally the first. As soon as I became a Stars fan and started watching hockey, they missed the playoffs for about 6 years. So, yeah. So it was nice from that perspective. But yeah, it's not too disappointing, I don't think.
I think in a lot of ways, and maybe I'm like overreaching here, but you look at like the Stars' recent run of, or in the past few years, the run of like frustration and failure. Then this year, like kind of surging out of nowhere. In a lot of ways, like it's sort of comparable to the 2009 Blackhawks, where like they just had this like surge of really good talent, youth, like brought in some veteran guys, and then all of a sudden they're in the Western Conference Finals. And the year before that, they weren't even in the playoffs. And then like this year, it's not the Western Conference Finals, but Game 7 of the semifinals, and you're basically a crapshoot away from it.
Right.
Obviously, that Game 7 did not go very well, but like just
when it rains in Dallas, it pours. Like when we have a bad game, it gets bad real fast, which is kind of nice because then you're not worrying half the game about whether you're gonna win. You just know that all right, maybe just I don't know, go get something to eat or something, go hang out. Yeah.
To be fair, it wasn't like your third straight awful Game 7 loss, Ducks. So you have some kind of you can feel better about that.
Yeah. But I was just going to say, to kind of finish my thought.
The second game of the series where we... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, to finish my thought, I think that the Stars can be a threat in coming years.
Okay.
Like you said, it's a bunch of young kids who didn't get experience, or who got experience that didn't have it. And then, like, Tyler Seguin, having not been in that lineup, like, if they can have him healthy next year, like, they're going to be a threat again. The issue will be, like, for them, is obviously still going to be goaltending. But I mean, if you maybe gave Antti Niemi a shot, like in a lot of ways, all you really need is like above average to above average NHL goaltending if you can put a good team in front. So if that's what Niemi or Lettinen can be, is just average, they can still make a run.
Yeah, I don't think the problem is they both can give you above average for stretches, but then they have really bad stretches, and I'm kind of tired of Kari Lettinen's bad stretches. So I'd like to get rid of him, but the problem is he has a huge contract, and so does Niemi. So you want to bite the bullet and buy him out, because then you're losing cap space that you're going to lose anyways when you re-sign Jamie Benn to a gazillion dollars in a few months. So I don't know, but it's Jim Nill, so I fully expect us to trade for Matt Murray as soon as free agency opens.
Talk the Penguins into taking Lettinen for Murray.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Jim Nill will as soon as free agency opens, he'll sign Ryan Garbett and then trade him for Matt Murray.
Whatever happened? Okay, this is kind of going off topic. Whatever happened to Jack Campbell? Because wasn't he supposed to be good?
Why don't we just start with Scott Glennie? Let's just if we're gonna pull the scabs off, let's just start with there. Whatever happened? Okay, so I actually got the chance to interview Jack Campbell after he got drafted for defending Big D, and the big talk about him as soon as he had the year after he got drafted, he had a really bad year. I think it was in Winster, in the Ontario Hockey League. But the big talk around him was that he needed a sports psychologist because he lost confidence as soon as he struggled and everything. And it was so bad that he was 18 years old and needed a sports psychologist. I don't know if that's still a thing today, but it certainly colors the narrative when you see what he's done because he's just been bad. I mean, I can't even remember the last time I saw a report out of our minor leagues that he had an excellent game. I don't know. I think we just swung and missed on him. I haven't read enough scouting reports to. I mean, early on it was that his positioning was off, but I think it's just a mental thing at this point. And I get the bad sense that we're going to end up getting rid of him, and we'll see him a couple years down the line, anchoring, I don't know, the Florida Panthers or something like that, but I don't know. It's just one of those things where I think we fell in love with the prospect because Joe Nieuwendyk loved talking to him, and then we just drafted him too high. Same thing with Scott Glennie the year before. Drafted him at 8, and he never made the NHL. So it's just a matter of swinging and missing at the top of the draft, which we seem to do quite often.
That's kind of what if you look back, with the exception of a couple of Tays and Kane, if you look at what Dale Talon did in Chicago, a lot of his first-round picks are like in 2008 he drafted Kyle Beach, number 12 overall.
That guy.
And I don't even know whatever happened to him. He never saw the NHL. And guess who got drafted 15th overall that year? Just a little defenseman named Erik Karlsson.
You can't do that. You can't do that to yourself, man.
I know.
I did that so often because, I think it was the Scott Glennie year. The 7 people drafted in front of him were guys like Kadri, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, and as soon as it got to 8, the rest of that first round was just trash. And then, but Scott Glennie was the trashiest of the trash at number 8. And it's just, the annoying thing with Campbell is that guess who got drafted right after him? Cam Fowler. And he's good. He's very good, and he's a defenseman, and so that's been a sticking point for Stars fans is that that could have been one of our top defensemen.
Yeah, that 2008 draft is just annoying.
Wait, yourself nuts.
Sorry,
yeah.
The 2008 draft is just annoying because you look at, like I said, the Hawks drafted Kyle Beach, and the names after him, it's like Erik Karlsson, Jordan Eberle, Tyler Myers, Ryan O'Reilly, who made it to the second round. It's like that draft is stacked later in the first round too. It's kind of weird. But
I mean, you got to think that Jamie Benn was drafted in the 5th round. So think about how many teams passed up on him multiple times. So it's just such a crapshoot. But if you do want to torture yourself, definitely go through the first rounds over the last 10 years for any of your favorite teams and just wallow in self-pity.
All right, let's move on from this group therapy session. I think we've all had enough. This is technically still a Hawks podcast, so Adam and I need to. Pat, you can chime in. Let's talk about the Gustav Forsling signing, Adam. They signed him to a 3-year ELC.
Who?
Gustav Forsling? Yeah, exactly. Supposedly number one defensive prospect or guy that has a really high ceiling by all accounts. 19 years old though, and if he doesn't make the team out of camp next year, he's going back to Sweden. Thoughts on the deal?
Well, first of all, he's going back to Sweden. He's
not going to make.
I don't think he's going to make the team out of camp.
Yeah, he's not going to make the team.
I mean, not really a lot to think about an entry-level contract. It's 3 years to a guy with no NHL experience. Wow, I can't believe they did that. It's the typical Twitter joke. But really, I mean, it's just I think it's a good step for the Hawks because he is going to be a very good defenseman. When they traded Adam Clendening to Vancouver for Forsling, a lot of Vancouver folk were like, "Oh shit, why did we just trade Gustav Forsling?" And obviously with Clendening kind of turning into a journeyman, that looks like a good deal for the Hawks. And Forsling, I don't want to get too high. I haven't watched him a lot, but what I did watch of him at the World Juniors this year looks very good. I don't want to. I could say has potential to be a number one defenseman. That's like super high praise for me not being super informed. But if you read the scouting report, he's supposed to be a very good defenseman. So if he is the next Duncan Keith, it's possible that he could be that guy. If he turns out to just be like a Brent Seabrook like top pair defenseman, maybe not like an elite defenseman, that'll still be good. And it's exciting to have him in tow, and maybe he can come into camp and surprise people and make the team. Who knows?
If he makes the team at 19 years old and complete surprise, I mean, he's better than probably what we think that he'll eventually be. I mean, if he can make the team in September, that's kind of the way I've rationalized it or tried to make myself feel better. And in that respect, I look forward to him being thrown in to a trade to the Panthers or something, or to the Stars with Jim Nill to try to get rid of Brent Seabrook's contract.
I don't know if we want him though, because this guy looks like a younger version of Julian Assange, the WikiLeaks founder, and that guy's weird. So you guys can keep him. That's my hot take.
Benedict Cumberbatch?
I think that Forsling could be very good for the Hawks. I don't think he'll be a bust. I think as long as he turns out to be an NHL player, I don't want to get too high on him because again I haven't seen him a lot, but there's a lot of good praise around him.
I feel like they kind of need him to be really good, though.
Yeah,
I feel like if they're going to win another cup with this core, they kind of need him to pan out at least to be a solid second pairing guy or a good second pairing guy.
That's true. But if you look at his shot, like he has a big shot, skates well, pretty good passer, seems pretty solid in his own zone, can get the puck out pretty easily. Again, that's all like in World Junior, so it's it's obviously tough to figure out how that's going to translate to the NHL game. But I think that there will be opportunity for him to make the team next year if he can come into camp and show it. I don't really think he will. But I don't think right now he's better than like Ville Pokka. I think in my head the only two good prospects the Hawks have on the blue line are Forsling and Pokka. So I don't think that he's better now than Pokka, but I think that he's a better prospect in terms of long-term potential and what he can be than Pokka is. And so I think that it's good to have him signed in, good to have him in the tow, and it'll be good to have him in camp around the team, getting to know the system a little better, and they can tell him what they want him to work on should he go back to Sweden next year, or maybe he'll make the team, and they can tell him what they want him to work on in Chicago.
And both defensive Hawks prospects look really weird. I mean, Ville Pokka's a photogenic 10-year-old boy, basically. So Julian Assange and a 10-year-old boy that looks like he might as well be playing on the Sandlot or something. So
yeah, have you seen Ville Pokka's wardrobe? It's really weird, just full of polka dots.
Is it really?
No, he's making that up.
Okay. No, I figured.
Full of polka dots. Come on, Robert. How did you fall for that?
No, but he could have. I don't know, because Pat says stuff, and I.
Yeah. See, that's the problem with me, is that I'm too deadpan. But yeah, Villa Polka Dots. I just gave you guys a nickname for him.
They always, whenever he scores a goal, the Ice Hogs account tweets it's a polka party, and
Oh, nice.
they have like a guy playing an accordion or something.
Oh, see, I thought you meant like he was partying with a bunch of Pokemon.
Oh, that'd be cool
Oh,
too. That'd be way better.
That's too much of a reach, Pat. Come on.
See,
that'd be way better.
There's a Photoshop in there somewhere. Put his face on Pikachu and call him Pokachu.
If he ever turns into something, we'll get on that.
I keep taking this train way off the rails.
It's okay.
No, it's perfect.
This is an off-season podcast. We don't really have rails anyway.
We're not used to this, Pat. We're not used to this.
You knew what you were getting. Come on, you both follow me.
Absolutely. Let's move on to the conference finals. Talk predictions. Talk about how both series have gone so far. Let's start in the East. The Pens and the Lightning. Pittsburgh up 2-1. Last two games, for the most part, they've really controlled. They probably were the better team last two games. Tampa Bay has been, for the most part, really riding their backup goalie, Andrei Vasilevsky, after Ben Bishop's injury in Game 1, and Vasilevsky's been up to the task. And I don't know, to me, I'm starting to get an air of inevitability with the Lightning if they don't start picking it up. I mean, it feels like they need Steven Stamkos to play, but I'm not sure if that's actually going to happen, at least in this series.
Yeah, you talk about the Stars kind of hitting a roadblock as soon as they, get to Game 7 with the Blues, and all they were missing was Tyler Seguin. And then the Lightning have been going this far without Stamkos, without Stroman for most of it, which is their best offensive player, and Hedman's pretty good.
Second best offensive.
Okay, yeah.
Hedman's pretty good.
Hedman's pretty good. He's all right.
Didn't make it that far in the cover vote though. So how good is he?
Right.
But yeah, their second best defenseman. He's back now. But now they're missing their best goalie. So, this team has been plodding along with, I guess Jonathan Drouin isn't spare parts, but they've been persevering as much as any team has this postseason, and you wonder if, running up against the buzzsaw, the Penguins, is finally just too much for them.
The thing with the Stamkos situation to me is people are talking about how much, how they miss him. But last year, he was pretty worthless in the playoffs. Didn't score a whole lot. And actually, I'm going to read this tweet because it's one of the best tweets I've seen all in regards to the playoffs all week. It's from Andrew C. Slack. He said, Lightning are recycling last year's stories, including Bishop, will he, won't he play, and Stamkos providing similar goal-scoring output.
Yeah, that's true.
Stamkos didn't have any good goals last year. It's just a total, destruction of Stamkos, first of all. But also, the fact that last year, Bishop had that weird quad thing, and, John Cooper's oh, we don't know yet if he'll play or not, and then he plays, and then now he's not playing. It's all this, Ben Bishop, probably tore his ACL on that push-up thing.
Yeah,
fell on the ice, is writhing in pain, and John Cooper's well, we don't really know if he's gonna play.
Yeah, it's it's like Tyler Seguin almost tore his Achilles, and oh, he could be back soon. No, he's. And then after the playoffs ended, Tyler's yeah, I'm gonna need 7 months for this, guys. There's no way I was coming back. But yeah, I totally forgot how quiet Stamkos was last year. That completely left my mind. That was the whole narrative, is that when is Stamkos going to? It was like the Crosby narrative up until the last couple games.
It kind of culminated with that Crawford save in Game 6. If he wasn't to score on that, then it was basically series over. But he's still. I'm going to be the more rational one. Make less jokes than you guys. Stamkos is still a top line player, regardless of if he wasn't producing. I mean, that has ripple effects throughout the lineup. He's their best he should be their best offensive forward. But maybe again, it wouldn't have mattered because the Penguins are still just the East's best team, at least off of the eye test, off of the Jeremy Roenick eye test.
Well, I mean, any top forward once you get to the playoffs is going to draw extra attention from defenders. Great players are going to be able to overcome that. Jamie Benn was still the finding ways to get through. But if you have Stamkos in the lineup, whether he's producing or not, the Penguins would still have to pay extra attention to him.
Yeah.
Because the Stars doubled up on Tarasenko the entire series, and he was mostly quiet. And it required guys like Robbie Fabry to step up. So it would relieve a lot of pressure on the Lightning if Stamkos was in the lineup. They've been getting by since Jonathan Drouin has stepped up, but whether or not he's producing or not, it's still a big absence.
The story with the Penguins has to be Phil Kessel, right? It has to be how he's dominated.
Absolutely.
Yeah. With that breath, I mean, how can he stay out of that boat?
Well, also, I think what's funny is people and I know everyone has kind of got their shots in on Jeremy Roenick already, but just like this idea that Sidney Crosby hasn't been playing well. He has 14 points in 14 games. What more do you want from him? He has the last 2 game winners. It's almost like people expect so much of Sidney Crosby that no matter what he does, even if he scored 200 points in the year, they'd be like, oh, well, he could have had 250. He's just he's on this weird level.
It's a different version of the Alex Ovechkin. Okay, sure, he scored 170 goals this year, but does he really pay attention to defense? Is he really helping his team? Well, yeah, he scored 200 goals this year.
Right.
Yes, he is helping his team. Just because Sidney Crosby isn't scoring doesn't mean he doesn't do other things on the ice. And just because you focus in on a couple moments where he's banging his stick on the ground and he seems tired after shift, you can create narratives out of it. The Lightning aren't just going, oh, Sid's just frustrated. He's not doing anything. Let's focus on other people. He's still much like Stamkos' absence has a ripple effect throughout the whole lineup, whether or not he's performing well or not. Crosby's presence has a ripple effect on how the game was played, whether he's producing or not. So it's an easy narrative for Roenick to throw out there, but it's not necessarily true.
I mean, that's something that centers around almost every star player in the league and in most sports. In the NFL, it's if the quarterback has one bad game or back to the Blackhawks, Jonathan Taves. Everyone just immediately jumps on. It's what's easy. It's what's easy because they can't quantify it in a better fashion, I think.
Well, it's also just because in the playoffs, you need your best players to be your best players if you're going to win. And so when your best players aren't stepping up, a lot of times, even when other players are, you're kind of, it does become a little bit of a story because you're when is Sidney Crosby going to show up? But the problem with saying that right now is that Sidney Crosby has been showing up. When if it's actually not happening, last year with Stamkos, then it's a story. Then it's okay, what's wrong with Steven Stamkos? Why isn't he scoring? But the thing with Crosby is so dumb because he's been scoring.
And it's ignoring, if you decide to focus on Crosby having 1 or 2 bad games or looking frustrated, you're ignoring the bigger story, which is that holy hell, that Carl Hagelin, Nick Bonino, Phil Kessel line is ridiculous. Those 3 have been terrorizing the Lightning. Bonino has been fantastic. Here are 3 guys who got cast off by their teams, basically, and Jim Rutherford's come join my flock. You will prosper. And they've done really well. I wrote about this a couple weeks ago, how back when the Capitals and Penguins are playing, how the narrative isn't about Ovechkin and Crosby anymore because they're not the only star players on their team. They finally have secondary threats in TJ Oshie, Evgeny Kuznetsov, Nicholas Backstrom is still doing his thing. And then now you've got Bonino, you've got Kessel, you've got all these young players for Crosby, behind Crosby and Malkin. So it's not as big a deal anymore if Crosby isn't performing, especially since the Penguins are leading the series. So, it's just focusing on star players and criticizing them kind of ignores the other narratives that are going on.
Right, and I think, like you said, they're winning the series, so Sidney Crosby, as the captain of that team, he would rather win the Stanley Cup and have 0 points the whole damn time than score 10 points in one series and they get swept. He doesn't want if he's doing all the offense, it's oh, Sidney Crosby's playing so well, but then the story is what the hell's going up with everybody else. So if everyone else is still providing and that HBK line, as they say, is playing so well, who cares if Sidney Crosby doesn't have that many points? So there's that, but then it's also still stupid because Sidney Crosby's been playing well.
Right, yeah, it's so dumb. Yeah, how do you think Jamie Benn feels right now? He was arguably, I'm going to put on my green tinted glasses here. He was the best player in the playoffs. But you can make that argument. And he ended it leading the NHL in points. But guess what? His team's out of the playoffs. You know, do you think he cares that? Do you think he's sitting by the pool right now like, yeah, you know, we didn't make the Stanley Cup, but dude, like...
He's probably sitting by the pool, enjoying himself still. I mean, let's be honest.
Honestly,
but not like
with
right.
Tyler Seguin, because those two definitely, like, have called into, like, their weekly radio shows, and they're just like, oh, yeah, Jamie's just right next to me, we're sitting poolside. Like, it's not a narrative. Those two are definitely, like best buds. But, yeah, no, do you think Jamie Benn's just sitting around going like, yeah, but I led the playoffs in scoring, so it's okay that we're out? No, it doesn't. Like, Sidney Crosby does not care if he cares if he's not scoring if the team needs him to be scoring at that moment. But if they go to the Stanley Cup, he doesn't care.
right.
But he doesn't care. Like, what kind of a leader is he? They should strip the captaincy from him.
I don't think we're making enough of one individual play by Mr. Bad Breath Phil Kessel where he blew by Victor Hedman. Like,
oh, I thought you were gonna say where he blew his stinky breath on.
Well, also
on
blew
Pierre.
his breath on Pierre, but that's why I said the bad breath. But for Phil Kessel to just absolutely embarrass, I mean, a top 10 defenseman, one of the best young defensemen in the league, on Pittsburgh's second goal the other night. I didn't see enough conversation about it because to me that was one of the better plays so far this postseason. That was ridiculous. I mean, Phil Kessel's been, in my mind, is a top 3 Conn Smythe candidate. I know that's an easy conversation to have, but he's been the best part of that second line, and you know, as we've been talking about, the driving factor for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he's been great. It's but it's not all that's surprising.
It's not all just him or surprising, yeah. But
yeah. No, he's been great. No, it's fantastic to watch a guy who was vilified unjustly for, you know, eating hot dogs on the street and, you know, underperforming on a team that was terrible in Toronto.
When he wasn't even
underperforming.
Underperforming. He was like a top 3 scorer in the NHL.
Yeah. Sorry,
No, I'm not calling out on you. I'm calling out other people for saying
Damien
that.
Cox invaded my brain in that second. And
That's okay.
put on hot takes. No, he's been fantastic. He's that. You know, you look at the price. They gave up Kasperi Kapanen for him, which I was thinking about this the other day. It's like if you aren't close to winning a cup, then you don't make that move because Kasperi Kapanen's going to be great. But that's the kind of move you make if you know that he's the missing piece, and you know that he can fit. And it was just another good move by Rutherford, who I didn't think very much of when he left Carolina, because that franchise was kind of run. Go ahead.
No, well, obviously, yeah, no, good. It's Carolina. You don't have to say anymore. It's Carolina.
Right. Fantastic moves ever since, and Kessel is proving to be yet another one.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. I think that at the beginning of the year, I picked the Penguins to win the Stanley Cup, and not that I'm not trying to like do that, but my prevailing reason was like look how deep they're gonna be now. Like Jim Rutherford turned what's his name? I can't even think of his name right now. Whoever he traded for Nick Bonino, that was a great move. Sutter. Yeah.
Oh, that guy.
Brandon Sutter.
Brandon Sutter. He traded Brandon Sutter for Nick Bonino. Great deal. Then he traded like that. First of all, okay.
Let's talk about the Ducks like undervaluing Nick Bonino.
But
like
seriously,
that guy was nails in the playoffs for like 3 straight years.
They traded him. Well, they traded him for Ryan Kessler, which at the time I guess wasn't a horrible deal.
Oh,
but,
right.
So not horrible, but still.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But then they signed Ryan Kessler to an 8-year deal.
Yeah, well, that contract's horrible, but that's a different story. Don't get me off track here. Getting Nick Bonino, getting Phil Kessel, like for basically scraps, like the way that they built that team, and then what they've done like throughout the regular season as well, getting guys like Trevor Daley, Carl Hagelin, like Jim Rutherford has basically built a war machine. And you consider the fact, like, think about the fact that like the HBK line is their second line. Their third line center is Evgeny Malkin. Oh, ho hum, just a former 105-point scorer, former Hart Trophy winner. Like, oh, ho hum, third line center Evgeny Malkin. Like, they're so deep, and then their defense has been good, and Matt Murray's been lights out. And even if Matt Murray got hurt or something, they still have Marc-Andre Fleury, who's a good goalie. Like, they're set well. I mean, like, the Sharks can give them a run, but I think the Penguins are going to win the Stanley Cup.
All they were missing was a coach. Their turnaround ever since Johnson was fired is just amazing. They were just a couple moves and a decent coach away from being elite again. I still think the Sharks beat them though, because the Sharks are just. Maybe I just want them to win because God, I love this team. They're so fun to watch.
Nice segue. So you can talk more about that. Sharks and Blues. Sharks take a 2-1 series lead last night after dominating the last 2 games. The Joe Thornton line the Blues have had no answer for them. Arguably, you could say that the Sharks were better in Game 1, if not for Brian Elliott as well. But the Sharks, for the most of the Western Conference playoffs, have looked like the best team in the West, and they're showing it right now, dominating. I mean, it's a pretty good Blues team by most respects. Guys, thoughts on this series so far? Pat, you're already going on about your love affair with Joe Thornton, and
I didn't think I'd ever really care about the Sharks because I don't know all that drama. It seemed that was coming from their camp between stripping the captaincy from everybody and putting it back, and I don't know. I never really cared about the Sharks until this season, and then suddenly they're so good. You've got a core group of guys who have played with each other forever, between Pavelski, Thornton, Marleau, and Couture, and then you add guys like Joel Ward, who has been fantastic. He's the Troy Brouwer edition of the Sharks. Brent Burns has emerged. Marc-Edouard Vlasic is the best pickle jar to ever pick up a hockey stick. And then going out. Okay, so and then last summer, there's which unproven backup goaltender are you going to go out and get? You're going to go get Cam Talbot, or you're going to get Martin Jones, and then it worked out. It's just, but even entering the playoffs, I didn't think they would get past the Kings, but they've gotten better and better because that power play is just deadly, and they've shown an ability to match up. If they played the Stars, they could match them with speed. They're playing the Blues, they can match them with physicality. They're able to adapt their style to whichever team they play against, which is why I think if they advance to play the Penguins, they can suddenly become do what the Blues did to the Stars and clog them up too if they need to. So I think they're so multifaceted and have so many talented players with experience and skill that they just become a killing machine in the Western Conference.
Yeah, I think what's the crazy thing to me, I hadn't even realized it until the other day when I read this, that Logan Couture is leading them in scoring. And he's their third best forward, maybe fourth best forward. He's definitely not their top guy because it's probably either Thornton or Pavelski, and you can kind of debate that till you're blue in the face. But just the fact that he's been their leading scorer, other guys have been stepping up, and then like you said, Brent Burns has been good. Joe Thornton is on another level. I would love to see him get a cup, truthfully.
Me too. Yeah.
But I do think I kind of want the Penguins to win, and I do think the Penguins will win. But the Sharks have been fantastic, and I am wholeheartedly rooting for a Sharks-Penguins Stanley Cup final because I think that'd be so much fun.
Do we think that the Blues have any chance of coming back in the series?
No. Mm-mm. That's not gonna listen. It's not because the Blues are doing their typical choking thing. The Sharks are just better. They're skating circles around the Blues at times, and the Blues don't have any real answer for that Joe Thornton line at this point, and especially the power plays going at this point. I mean, the Sharks just seem like they have that, and I hate to be really cliche, but they have that, I don't know, that mojo or that confidence right now that they
have the TWTW.
Dude, the will to win.
The will to win. They do. They're rolling. They've absolutely dominated the past 2 games. Absolutely dominated.
Plus, they might have the NHL 17 cover guy.
Yes, they have Grandma Pavs.
NHL 17 Pavlinski.
And they have the Rally Cat.
They do have they have everything. They have the grandma and they have the cat.
Dude, what more do they need?
I don't know. They don't need anything else. That's one thing that Jamie Benn and the Stars certainly do not have is the cat.
Okay, well,
Sorry.
paint me a scenario where the Blues could come back, either of you.
Okay, I'll paint it. I'll meet mine first. They have to win Game 4. They win Game 4.
Yeah.
at the tank. Then they have to win Game 5 because if the Sharks win Game 5 and they get to go home for Game 6, it'll be over. So they have to hold home court, and then after that, I think that they could win it in 7. So I think that if the Sharks are going to win the series, they're going to win it, or if the Blues are going to win the series, they're going to win it in 7. But they have to win Game 4, and if the Sharks win Game 4, the series will be over in 5, in my opinion.
Here's my way the Blues win the series. Is if they don't take a single penalty the rest of the series.
Oh well, that's
And if they don't make a single turnover in the neutral zone for the rest of the series, because it's weird seeing the Blues not be able to kill a penalty after they silenced the Stars for 7 games, but they had no answer for. I mean, Brian Elliott got chased. That doesn't happen except in the regular season, not in the playoffs. It's just I don't know. I don't think there is a way forward for them. Maybe they eke out 2 more games, but I don't see them winning the series at all. They just lost their mojo.
I think the biggest problem for the Blues is that they, especially on the road in San Jose, that they can't see the puck because it's so dark at the tank.
Right.
You know? It's so dark there, so that's at a disadvantage. That's part of the home ice thing.
What's the deal with that? Like, why do all of the West Coast teams not have lights? Is it because they're all hipsters and they just use candles?
They're more mellow. I don't know. It's California. So you'd have to ask someone. Adam, do you have an explanation for that?
I know at the Staples Center, and this is like I know this for a really weird reason. I watched like one of those like transformation videos, like how because the Staples Center hosts like 5 different sports teams, and so I watched they like transform from like the Clippers to the Kings to the Lakers, and I know at least for the Lakers they intentionally leave like the crowd dark. Which
is really cool.
Right. And then like the Clippers games, the crowd is lighter. So I think that the Kings kind of have that darker thing too. I don't really get it. I think it's maybe to like get the focus like for TV wise on like the focal point there so you're not distracted by like what's going on out there. Like I mean, it's cool like when you have like if the Hawks maybe are in the finals, like you can see all the red because they kind of light up the stands. You can see all the fans in red, or like the Lightning are trying to do that thing where they want all the blue fans. Like if you light up the fans, you can do that. But I think also if you're making the focal point for television wise, like the ice and what's going on there, obviously like if you can kind of create like avoid the distraction, that is sort of a goal too maybe.
Yeah, I mean I don't mind it. I kind of like it. It's just funny to me how. Like, I watch Oilers games and it feels the same, but maybe that's just because it's Rexall Place and light bulbs haven't made it there yet. But like Vancouver's lighter, Staples Center is darker. I don't mind it. I kind of like it whenever the Stars play in the Shark Tank or whatever, because it does feel like you're getting a secret view at a game that nobody's at, you know? Like, but it's kind of neat. I kind of like it. But it is funny seeing how many people are annoyed by it, as if like if I can't see the fans there, then it's
my game experience is ruined. It's just ruined.
Yeah, right. I have to see the people standing up in front of the camera to feel like I'm there.
All right, guys. Let's pick before we get to our final like more really off-topic conversation. Let's pick the rest of these. Let's pick these series. Let's pick the cup final, and then give me a Conn Smythe as well. Conn Smythe winner. So either of you can go.
You first.
Okay, I will pick. So
pick both series.
Both series.
Pick the final and give me a Conn Smythe winner.
Okay, so Sharks in 5, Penguins in 6. Penguins over Sharks in 6. Wait, who would have home ice there? The Penguins. The Penguins. Okay, then Penguins in 7. Penguins in 7, and then Conn Smythe winner will be Phil Kessel.
See, I'm going to go with Sharks in 4. They're going to beat them so bad in Game 4 that
it's over.
That the Blues will just forfeit.
I really have to appreciate the fact that the Sharks have made the real Blues come back.
Right, yeah.
Love come back.
Yeah, suddenly Ott's taking terrible penalties at the worst possible times, and it's like,
yes, thank you.
Ott I grew to love.
Yeah.
No, so I think you're right, Sharks in 5, Penguins in... Yeah, I'll go Penguins in 6. But then for the Cup final, I'm gonna have to go Sharks in 7. I don't know. They have I don't know. They have the TWTW. They have it. They have they have that elusive, vague it that. Also, I would just like to see those old guys get a cup because I think they deserve it. But I also think that they're, like I said before, I think the Sharks are they're pretty malleable in that they can play physical if you want against the faster teams, and they can speed up and catch up with the Penguins if they need to. So I think they would win in 7. Conn Smythe would go to Joe Pavelski. Even if Couture leads in points, I think Pavelski probably wins the Conn Smythe in that case.
I'll pick the Penguins in 7. I do think the Bolts will push a little farther, but they're really running on fumes, as we've discussed. Sharks in 6. I think the Blues win one more game, but again, like as you guys are saying, they're on their own little roll. And I'm going to agree with Pat. The Sharks are just in the Cup final. Sharks over Penguins in 6, though. I think they have the will to win. They have the cliche. They believe in each other. They're really executing out there. All the cliches you could think of. They're fun to watch too. And also mirroring Pat, Joe Pavelski, I think has been the best player for the Sharks. You can debate Joe Thornton, you can debate Couture, but I think Joe Pavelski gets the Conn Smythe.
See, I just have to stick with the Penguins because I picked them at the start of the year. I picked them at the start of the playoffs.
I picked the Lightning.
Adam Yost.
At this point, I'm riding and dying with the Penguins.
I picked the Lightning at the beginning of the year, and I'm willing to abandon them.
Well, at this point, they've. I just want to feel I want to feel smart. Like I want to be able to like if the Penguins win the Stanley Cup, I want to like tweet like the SCH predictions from the start of the year and say, "Look, I picked the Penguins to win."
See,
ignore my series prediction, or ignore my division predictions. Ignore that I had the Blackhawks in the Cup final. I picked the Penguins.
See, my problem is that the SB Nation side picked against a robot too, and I'm pretty sure the robot beat me in like a few of my predictions. So no matter what happens, no matter what I get right, I still lost to the robot. So who just like picked randomly. So yeah, I've given up on my predictions and stuff.
Before we talk Civil War, Thrones, video games, Brandon works with us at SCH, had one question for you, little short debate. He said that you would know. What's the best, Chipotle, Freebirds, or Qdoba?
What's Freebirds?
Oh, Freebirds sucks. Confession, I've never been to any of them.
Well, then what is this?
Because burritos are the worst.
What?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I don't even want to talk about Civil War.
Delete your account. Delete all your.
Dude.
When have you ever eaten a burrito and afterwards thought to yourself, man, I feel really good.
All the time.
I could get up and do stuff. No. You eat a burrito and you sit there going, wow, I can't move for 2 weeks. I just can't do it. Burritos they're too big. They're overrated. Go eat a taco instead. But if I had to rank them, I would say I had to do some business stuff with Freebirds at my old internship, and they suck. So Chipotle gives you diseases. So whatever that other one was, I'll go with that one.
Qdoba.
Hey,
okay. Adam.
That's fine. You know what? Chipotle is just the best. I don't even care. I will ride and die with Chipotle. Even when they had the
E. coli
thing, even when they had the E. coli thing, I was going. I said, you know what?
Were you really going while they had the E. coli
better
thing?
or
What is
for
wrong
worse?
with you?
It was
Man.
The E. coli was like in Kansas or something. I was not at risk.
Man.
Have you not seen Planet of the Apes, man?
I actually
That's
have
how
not
it
seen,
starts in
I
a
actually
Chipotle.
have not seen Planet of the Apes.
Wow.
Okay. Wow. All right. Wow, that's worse than the burrito take. No, it's not worse than the burrito take. Shame on you, Pat.
Hey, I'm not known for my popular food opinions.
That's okay.
Pie sucks.
Neither is Travis Yost.
Hey, hey! Do not compare me to that guy. Has the worst opinions about food I've ever seen.
The only good food opinion I've seen from him is when he said ice cream is overrated. I agree with that.
What?
That's a terrible opinion.
Wait, no. Ice cream is good, but it's not the best dessert. So
You're
it
right.
is overrated.
You're right.
Brownie's the best dessert, but it's still amazing.
It's
still great.
He said it was bad, I think. I don't agree with that, but I do think it's overrated.
I've never met anyone who says that ice cream is the best dessert, though. I think it's just rated. I think
Didn't he
it's
say? Didn't the
Solid,
one
it's a solid 9. It's a solid 9.
the one Yost take that just blows my mind is I'm pretty sure he said to eat pizza with a fork.
yes, he
and,
did say that. I
and
will never let that go.
That is so like that's worse than the cold pizza thing. I hate cold pizza. I don't know how you feel about cold pizza, Pat. I think it's trash. It's meant to be meant to be eaten hot, eat it hot. But eating it, don't eat it with a fork, no matter what.
Okay, so I used to like cold pizza. Now just warm the damn thing up. You're an adult.
Thank you. Stick it in the microwave.
Right. However,
That ruins it. You can't put it in the microwave. At least put it in a toaster. Come on.
okay, so while I disagree with Yost that pizza should never be eaten with a fork, I am guilty of this last week because I was in Chicago and on my last night there I ordered deep dish because I hadn't had deep dish yet, and I feel like what's a Chicago trip without deep dish? And I had to eat it with a fork. I don't know why. I just did.
Well, deep dish you kind of have to eat with a fork.
Okay, good. All right. So
you know what? Here's the one thing though. Okay, I want to stick up for Chicago pizza real quick. Everyone compares Chicago pizza. They think deep dish is Chicago pizza. It is not. Like deep dish is just like Chicago pizza. Real Chicago pizza is thin crust with lots of thick cheese and cut in squares. That's all I'm gonna say.
yeah, I didn't have that. I think I went to Demos. I went to Demos that first night. Then it was Lou.
Malnati's.
Oh, I was about to say Lou Campanello, but I think that's like a pitcher or something. Yeah, I had Malnati's the other night. Deep dish. It wasn't the best deep dish I've ever had.
But you like deep dish, right?
I like it. Yeah, pizza's pizza. I do. There's no pizza I don't like except for so my friend had mac and cheese pizza at Demos, which looked like the most disgusting thing.
That's gross. That's like going to CC's or something. CC's has that.
Hey, CC's is great.
No.
CC's is pretty good.
No. Oh my
It's
gosh,
great.
their pizza's horrible. It's like
It's-
going to. It's like
okay,
Little Caesars.
A
but
better
worse.
comparison is like eating pizza made with Provel cheese.
Okay.
I don't know what that is.
The St. Louis pizza.
That's
St.
what
Louis.
they make St. Louis pizza.
It's a
Oh.
Frankenstein of like Swiss, provolone, and cheddar, and it tastes like nothing of the three.
Oh my gosh.
No. Don't mix cheddar with other cheeses.
Tell that to St.
It's
Louis.
the worst.
St. Louis pizza is just really, really bad. It's just. I never even had it, and I can tell you it's horrible. I know I have friends that live in St. Louis, and they say that they just order Papa John's instead of any
Right.
sort of St. Louis thing.
Right.
Which my hot pizza take is that I don't hate Papa John's. I don't.
Me neither.
It's not my preference. Obviously, I don't. It's better than Pizza Hut or Domino's for sure. So
Yes.
if I have to pick between the three, I'll take Papa John's every time.
Well, what's the fourth option? Are there other options?
I don't know. Is there even a fourth option?
I don't think there is. I think,
Little Caesars, maybe.
Oh yeah.
That's a cost-effective option.
Pretty good.
That's a cost-effective option. Plus, now if you go to a Detroit game in Detroit, if you go to a Red Wings game, you can get Little Caesars at Little Caesars Arena.
Ugh.
Which, okay, let's just talk this real quick. Why did they not call it Little Caesars Palace?
Yeah, they already had the palace at whatever.
Auburn Hills, yeah.
Yeah.
Auburn Hills, yeah. Wow, what a
It's
missed opportunity.
Absolutely a horrible misstep, in my opinion.
Little Caesars
Just
Palace.
awful PR, just really
Horrible. And they could have built like a nice little like Roman entryway with like columns. It could have been really cool.
That city's been through a lot of bad things for the years, but that is by far the worst.
That is definitely the worst. Clearly, why they haven't won the cup in like 6 years. That's
I felt bad because there were so many Red Wings fans that were embarrassed by it.
Right.
They
Yeah.
were like, "This is stupid."
all right. Anyway,
let's talk about Civil War.
They're going from
Oh,
Joe.
sorry.
Oh, sorry. They're going from Joe Louis, which seems so iconic and old time hockey, to Little Caesars. Like what a drop off.
From iconic name to really terrible pizza.
the first step in advertising. Adam, you said Civil War.
Okay, Civil War. Okay, I don't know. We've all seen it, right?
Yeah, the Ken Burns documentary.
Yeah, that with Abe Lincoln.
On History Channel
Yeah.
Yeah.
with the family, the feuding family in the South. Was it?
I've only seen the first 10 hours. I have about 50 more to go.
Okay.
Captain America Civil War. Have we
Yes.
all seen it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so let's just forewarn for people that haven't seen it and are listening.
Spoilers.
At this point, you may now stop listening to the podcast.
No, keep listening. Keep listening.
No, because we don't want to spoil anything. There will be spoilers. Thanks for listening. Follow us on Twitter. you listen to other podcasts to find them.
Yeah, they'll be throwing spoilers too. So,
so don't listen to so stop listening because we're gonna spoil things. Civil War. I thought so far. I think this is the second best Marvel movie they've made.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the best?
Okay, so I'll just give you my top 5. I have Winter Soldier, Civil War, The First Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Iron Man 1.
Can't argue with that. It's pretty good. People overrate Guardians of the Galaxy.
no way.
I agree.
It was very good, but I would rather watch all 3 of the Captain America movies again before I see Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy is just, I think a lot of people like it because of how different it is from the rest of the series, but that's one of the reasons that I'm like, it's not as good as people want it to be.
Guardians was so much fun.
It was.
Chris Pratt as a lead was perfect. I mean, the cast was put together. It's like they did it the right way to sell that kind of like off-edge superhero team. Like, it was perfect.
Let me put it this way. I saw Guardians of the Galaxy, and then I saw The Force Awakens, and I feel like I don't have to go see Guardians of the Galaxy again, because I already saw a better version of it in The Force Awakens. You know, like of Star Wars. And it was very good upon first viewing, but I watched it again, and I was like, this doesn't hit me with as much enthusiasm and excitement as it did the first time I saw it, you know?
It took me, I honestly, I didn't see Guardians of the Galaxy until almost a full year. I think it was a whole year after it came out. Like, I didn't see it in theaters. I like listened to people for like a year talk about how great it was before I finally saw it. And then when I saw it, I think I was like hyped up too much where I thought it was supposed to be the best. So then when I saw it, I was like, I don't know about that, but it was still pretty good. I think what Guardians of the Galaxy does well is introduce a lot of concepts that are going to come up later in like Infinity War, like introducing Thanos in a more like personal role, like another Infinity Stone in the mix now. It'll be fun to see how they like bring it in, and I think Guardians of the Galaxy 2 will be good because I think it'll do more of that. Because with them being in space and not just on Earth, it like helps, like they can introduce the Infinity Stones and help us get to the Infinity War.
Is Hulk showing up in that one, or is he showing up in Ragnarok?
He's going to show up in Ragnarok.
Yeah, Ragnarok.
Cool.
For me, Civil War was great and phenomenally entertaining, but to me, I can't get over how it felt like so little of consequence happened. Like in the like it's supposed to be this huge rift between this like the heroes. Like they have this big cheesy fight at the airport where for some reason all of the civilians are evacuated in advance beforehand.
It's the Zack Snyder effect.
It is the Zack Snyder effect. It absolutely is.
But then they have this big rift, and Tony finds out that Cap knew that his parents were killed by Bucky, and then Cap writes a nice little letter to him like, if you ever need us, we'll always be ready for you. And it feels like everything's mended. And like someone absolutely should have died. Like, of course, but of course, in classic Marvel way, Rhodey gets the Stark legs. Of course he did.
I think so. That moment where I must call him Robert Downey Jr., where Iron Man learns that, you know, about how his parents died. It was shocking to me. Like, that hit me. I was like, I was like, no way. That's awesome. That's such a great character arc.
That was a fantastic twist, yeah.
Now they're going to hate each other forever, and there's this deep-seated hatred there. But then at the end, Cap wrote him a nice letter, and there's still kind of... No, he knew your parents were killed. Like, that would have been the moment where I would have been fine if Iron Man had ended up killing the Winter Soldier. You know? Like, like that at that point, Winter Soldier feels like he's ready for death anyways.
I thought he was going to. I really thought he was going to.
Yeah, I think I agree that I'm disappointed no one died, which sounds kind of stupid. Yeah. Although one person did die. Peggy Carter died. Okay, guys, like let's have some respect.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but it wasn't on screen.
Okay, but you know what I mean. Okay, I'm just trying to make. I'm just
trolling.
I'm trolling for a reaction. Anyway,
it worked.
I think that
offsides.
So okay, there are some major plot holes to me in the movie. Like first of all, okay, and some of these I did get from YouTube. But first of all, the thing that like kind of sparks the Accords with how like Scarlet Witch kills all those people in the building. Let's please remember the fact that had she not at least contained the explosion and put it in that building where I think it was like 20 people died, hundreds of people would have died, including Captain America and Scarlet Witch had Crossbones been able to blow himself up successfully the way he wanted to. So that's a plot hole, because then they're like, oh, she killed people. Like, no, she saved a lot more lives than she took. Second of all, okay, and this one I'm willing to believe a little bit, but how on earth I think it's supposed to be Baron Zemo. They never called him Baron Zemo. But how did Baron Zemo know Iron Man would go to that place where Captain America and Bucky were already? Just because he killed like the psychiatrist and everything, and like just because he like kind of figured that all out, like why Iron Man doesn't have to? Iron Man could still be like, okay, like, well, I'm so mad because he's been ignorant, and maybe he's like, okay, he does need help, but it's still a little bit of a plot hole. Like, what if Iron Man didn't know where to go? What if Iron Man gets lost or something like that? It's just,
but that wouldn't happen because
it's
part of the plot. He's got to know where to go.
Right. That's what I'm saying is like it's a little bit of a plot hole in that like he doesn't like how does he know? Like how does the guy know that Iron Man's gonna show up? What if Iron Man doesn't show up and then his whole plan is ruined because there's not gonna be the fight, which that fight scene was epic. By the way.
Mission report December 16th, 1991, Adam.
Dude, I know. I think like I don't know. Robert, you said you don't like the plot, you don't like the story. I think the story is really, really good. I think like I liked the way it worked. I just think there's some major plot holes. And I think that I just think that the one thing like with the Scarlet Witch thing, like she saved so many more people than actually ended up dying in that explosion.
They overpower her.
Right. And like she again, that explosion would have killed hundreds of people in that crowd. Probably would have killed Captain America. Probably would have killed Scarlet Witch. Like, hello, like just because 20 people died in that building explosion does not make what she did wrong because she saved hundreds of lives.
Let's be honest too. Like they were, at the beginning where General Ross is like showing them the body counts of New York and Sokovia. Like, no, 50 people did not die in New York. That's not true. Thousands of them did. That's not
right.
So. Okay, so what did you guys think of Baron Zemo as a villain?
I thought he was just a placeholder. I didn't like people were praising it, like the actor's performance and how he was like this fantastic villain. I thought he was just a facilitator and really kind of irrelevant overall. I think isn't Baron Zemo like in the comics like this really big overarching villain? They kind of completely downplayed that. I wasn't necessarily a huge fan. I mean, he did his job, but
I thought it was because Marvel definitely has a villain problem, and I think by changing up the dynamic of it to where he was, instead of this I'm gonna rule the world and I'm gonna kill everyone, it was very personal, and he's like, look,
that did strike a chord, yeah.
Yeah, it was very like, look, I lost my family because of them. I don't want to do anything more than to just tear them apart, and that's it. And it worked. He was just this normal, regular guy who got it done, and then as soon as he got it done, he was just like, okay, I'm going to go end my life now. And I don't know, it was like, oh, that was such a clever plan, and I don't know, it was just very effective to me in a way that a lot of Marvel villains haven't been.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that, like, how they create the Civil War, and, like, instead of, like, it just being about the Accords, and, like, Iron Man not wanting to, or Captain America not wanting to sign the Accords and like wanting to like be different, and how Iron Man's like, no, we need to sign the Accords, instead of them just fighting about that, like, because that's kind of how the comics are. Instead of it just being about that, it's about like Iron Man is fighting for Bucky, like he's fighting because like
you mean
Bucky's.
Cap.
Or that's yeah, dang it, I keep saying that. Cap is fighting for Bucky. Cap is like trying to save Bucky and like trying to prevent like these other Winter Soldiers from being awoke or awakened. I don't know, however you say it.
Staying woke.
Yeah.
He didn't want it to get too lit.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, he didn't. The situation could have been way more lit than it ended up being.
It could have been dank.
Um,
It could have been dank, if anything.
yeah, it could have been real dank. But they just
Real crunk.
he was trying to prevent like that from happening and trying to like save Bucky and make it like bring him into the Avengers. And the whole time I'm like, oh my gosh, like Captain America and Iron Man are both being so dumb. Like just like, hey Cap, explain to Iron Man what you're doing. Iron Man, you have 12 more hours. If let him explain and then go help him, and then you have 12 hours. Like you'll still have 3 more hours probably to go fix to bring him in. Like go fix the problem, then go back. Like it's that simple. And I mean, with obviously with the Zemo thing and like trying to like take him apart, probably couldn't have worked. Might not have worked out like that. But I was like, oh my gosh, like there's no communication here. They're not talking to each other. They just want to fight. Like it's so dumb.
Well,
they just need to talk to each other.
But that's the whole. Yeah, it's tough. I see your point, but also like that's the whole point of the movie. It's like we're gonna come up with these reasons for these people to be fighting on screen. That was just. I think that they earned Tony's guilt. They've done it throughout the entire Marvel series of why he would be feeling guilty and want to make this decision. But as soon as he makes the decision, he makes a bunch of other decisions that just don't really make sense. Like it's like, oh yeah, I just want to bring this random teenager into this and just like throw him into it. But why? I don't know. Because we need to build another movie for him in a couple of years, and we need to get him on screen. There are a lot of like decisions where you could, or plot points where you could see through them and see the business side of it instead of like, the character reasons for it. But I don't know. I think Tony's characterization was consistent for most of the movie. I didn't really have that much of a problem with it.
I think that's one of my favorite Tony Starks in years is that like the emotional, like guilty Tony Stark instead of kind of like the arrogant, like cocky quip man. Like he was like he was feeling the weight of it. And like I just think that they told the story so well, like with him like running into that woman in the and like at the convention center, and she's like, you killed my son, which first of all, if I don't think I would not be like, you murdered my son. Like, yeah, he died there, but whatever. Like they set it up well, and like he feels guilt. You can tell like he's struggling the whole time. Like, and then like when he's at like when they're at the airport, like the little like talk they have before the fight, he's like, I'm trying to keep us together. Like I don't want us to have to be apart. Like he's like torn apart by the whole thing, and like he's frustrated because he doesn't want the Avengers to have to break up. But like he also like feels like the Accords are a necessary thing. Like he's torn horribly, and I can see like I like that Tony Stark a lot better. It reminds me a lot more of like the Iron Man 2, Iron Man 1. Iron Man 2 is a bad movie, but like the Tony Stark of the Iron Man movies where like he's torn between like decisions is like very good to me.
And it's good that it's like I've read some stuff after I saw the movie where they're talking about how in the comics he's very just totally sold on the idea and is just like a despot basically, and like a tyrannical ruler of this team, and is just mean to everybody. But throughout the whole movie he feels guilt about it, and then you can slowly see the arc turning where, once they get to the point where his friends are imprisoned, then he sees that, oh, I've gone too far, now I need to. But then it all gets turned back on a dime again once he realizes how his parents were killed. So it's like, I don't know, it's like they closed his arc and then they opened it back up again just so they could have an end scene. But it worked. But now they're best friends because they're pen pals. So
2 points.
Wow. Just to kind of, I don't think that the point of the end was like we're still friends. I think like I still think that we will see like in the future. So how I would write it, at least if I had written that ending, I would say, okay, like we're going to have a point where like Iron Man needs to call Cap in. Like he needs to call Cap and bring them in. But he's like, no, I'm not doing it. Like I'm not doing it because like of what happened. You know what I mean? Like the hatred's still gonna be there. I think that's like, at least that's what I would do. I think that's like, and I think Marvel has like done things so well that I think we can believe like that they might go, okay, Iron Man's not going to want to fight, or like Captain America and crew are going to show up and help in a Accords Avengers fight, and he's going to be like, get the hell out of here, I don't want you here, like you guys, we don't need your help, all this stuff.
Someone's going to have to die though. Like
eventually someone has to die.
Someone. We sound so awful saying that, but it's true.
Like
Yeah.
you have to like have consequences. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and I think
Permadeath,
I think-
where they die and they're not brought back.
yeah.
Right.
Not the comic book way. They have to never come back.
I think that like the Rhodey like paralyzation thing was such a cop out. Like,
It's
oh
such
my
a
god,
cop-out.
just let him die.
We
Like,
need no. We still need half of the fake Iron Man. You know,
right? Like Rhodey and like Rhodey
be
in a lot
honest,
of ways would
Rhodey
have been
isn't a
the
useful
perfect.
character.
He would have been the perfect character to die because he's
Right.
not a main character, but
Yeah.
he has enough of like the emotional pull on the main characters. Like, so okay.
I
Imagine,
wonder if they thought it was too much. Like, okay, so we're gonna kill Rhodey, and then we're gonna show Tony how his parents died. Like, is that too big of a betrayal from Cap?
Right. But I think that's a good point. But I was about like what I was gonna say is imagine like okay, Rhodey dies, Captain America is like or Iron. Gosh, why am I getting them mixed up? Iron Man is like willing to like be like okay, like that was a fallout of that fight. I'm still gonna go help him because he's in trouble. Then he finds out about like his parents dying and Cap knew about it. Now he's like okay, first of all, my best friend died. Second of all, this guy killed my parents and you knew about it and didn't tell me. Like, I'm done with you now. Like, we're not.
Yeah. Then
I'm
he
gonna
kills the
kill-
Winter Soldier, and then
Right.
they're even.
Right. Like, I'm gonna kill the Winter Soldier. Like, I don't know. Maybe it would have been too much to like do all that, but I feel like that could have been more like at
Yeah.
least more realistic and like a little more fun. Like, add a little bit of like.
Because now you have Rhodey who can't walk, and now you have Winter Soldier who's just in a stasis chamber. It's like now they're both on the sidelines when they could have not going to be used. Why don't you just kill them off or kill
Right.
kill Hawkeye? His kids will be fine. I don't know.
His kids will be fine.
I think the biggest. I don't want to like. I think a flaw that Marvel has in their movies is that they're kid friendly, but I think almost to a fault. Like
Mhm.
and like they want to be kid friendly, but like if you
Yeah.
really have to do a superhero movie, like there has to be death, there has to be like consequences. It can't always just be happiness and sunshine and rainbows at the end of the day. So
If you go
like,
too far though, you become Batman versus Superman.
right, like you don't want to be that. I mean, I like that movie regardless.
I did
but
too.
That's
I
a
did
different
too.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Oh my god.
you don't want to
Yeah.
be like
Yeah.
darkness and like doom and gloom all the time, but you also like there need to be consequences besides just like fake. Later on, we find out that people died in New York and people died in Sokovia and people died in Washington D.C. You know what I mean? It can't be
Yeah.
convenient to write those deaths in later and they're off-screen deaths, so we don't care. Like you need to give us a hook, like emotional hook, besides just the hype train. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, because again, like if Rhodey had died, like that's a reason to sympathize with Iron Man. Instead, now we're like, okay, like we have the reason because you know his parents got killed, but also like Iron Man's still kind of being ignorant with this Accords thing where he's like, no, we have to do this. Like he's unwilling to like let other opinions be heard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like there could have been that emotional hook where like we could still side with Iron Man on that thing because of Cap's like unwillingness to join. Like Rhodey died. Like okay, that's wrong. Like Cap like that's a fallout, and we can agree with Iron Man. But for me, I'm still 100% on Captain America's side, where I don't think that the Accords are necessary.
I don't know. Spider-Man's on Tony's side, so I think I'm going with that side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Black Panther too.
We haven't even talked about Spider-Man
That's
yet.
actually good. To me, Spider-Man and Black Panther were the best parts of the movie, bar none. Every time they were on screen, it was by far, to me, more entertaining than any other part of the movie. Spider-Man was so refreshing, even in his 20 minutes. I think he was even only on screen for like 20 minutes. But
Yep.
That kid, Tom Holland, best Spider-Man yet.
He's so,
Yeah, I agree.
he's so good. He's like right out of the comics I used to read as a kid. Just like cares. I don't know. I can't even. So I need to go back and watch the Tobey Maguire ones because I remember Garfield.
They were still good. They were still good.
But he was like.
He was more.
You know, like this Tom Holland kid seems like he has a lot to learn, and he's just going in there like recklessly, like the real Spider-Man does in the comics. Like he just starts out as a kid and he has to learn the ropes, and he's out of his element. He's gonna get beat up a bit, but he's gonna be a smart-ass, annoying son of a bitch at the
Yeah, he
same
never
time.
shuts up. That's
No.
the best thing.
Yeah.
That line where he started talking. Oh, okay, that wasn't introduction to conversation. That wasn't introduction to conversation.
He's like, hey guys, and he's like, just shut up. No, hey guys, how's everyone doing? Shut up, Tom. Or
And
Peter,
then
or whatever.
when he's like talking to Falcon, and Falcon's like, I don't know if you've ever been in a fight, but there's really not this much talking.
Yeah, my favorite part where he's like, "Hey, do you guys remember that really old movie, Empire Strikes Back, where they like,
Star Wars?
yeah, and he's like swinging around, and then they're like, how old is this kid? And like,
Where did you find him? I don't know. I don't know.
yeah,
I like Iron Man's line too. I didn't carbon date him.
right. I didn't carbon date him. Yeah, he was just so energetic and just didn't give a crap. I didn't like the fact that he like kept referring to him as like, "Oh, Mr. Tony, what should I do next?" Like,
Oh yeah, I missed. Yeah.
yeah, I hope.
15. He's 15.
Yeah, I hope in the next movie that'll be him like becoming more confident and everything. But I thought it was great, and then him combined with Ant-Man is just like the perfect comedic pairing on screen. Because that whole Ant-Man thing where he turned into Giant Man was so awesome. Everything about that fight was just perfect, I think. Like Spider-Man's little moment with Captain America, where Cap kind of showed him some respect and everything, and I don't know. It was like, I read a lot about it going into the movie, so I thought my hype level might be too high, but it met like every expectation. And Black Panther was perfect too. He's like the perfect ounce of gravitas and seriousness and wiseness that the other characters lack while they're shooting one-liners.
He was the necessary like straight man. Like when Hawkeye talks to him, like he's introducing himself. I don't care.
One of my favorite parts.
That's like an illustration of him. Go ahead.
One of my favorite parts with Black Panther is when they're like after like the scene, like the chase scene, which starting in the. I'm gonna get off topic a little bit here, but starting in the apartment with Bucky, like Cap and Bucky, and then like the stair fight and the chase. To me, that's like the best sequence we've had in any Marvel movie so far. Like that I was on the edge of my seat the whole time.
What is it with Marvel movies being really good with stair fights? Because Daredevil had one too.
Yeah, Daredevil had a really good one too. But I just think like that whole sequence, starting in the apartment and like leading up to the chase, like it was all so good. I was on the edge of my seat. I was like, oh my gosh, this is phenomenal. But then, after that scene when they're in the car, and he says like the Black Panther has been like I'm a warrior, like he's been a protector, now I'm king. He says and I ask you, as in my roles as warrior and as king, how long can you hide your friend from me? Like just like the cockiness, like I'm going to kill your friend. Like it doesn't have to be yet, but I will be killing him. Like it's just a matter of time. It's just like so good.
Just good luck stopping me.
Right, yeah, exactly.
And it's cool because he kind of joins up with the Avengers, but he only does it for his own personal reasons. And I love the fact that his arc ends up closing by the end of the movie. Like where he goes, like he's pushed so far for revenge, and when he finally gets it right up to Baron Zemo, he ends up saving his life because he realizes that like, no, I'm not going to be that. I'm going to be an honorable warrior. And it's like, aha, yes, now you're a hero. You got your own arc, just like Spider-Man did, just like everybody did.
Right. And his line there too, like where he says like the living are not done with you yet. Like all like his he just like his lines, like his like he was written so well where I was like, wow, like he was a really good character, and I'm excited for the movie, like the Black Panther movie now, especially they added Michael B. Jordan to that cast. Like it's gonna be really, really good.
God, he's so good. Don't even get me started on Fantastic Four. I was so mad about that.
I didn't see it because I heard it was so bad.
Neither did I, but I love all those actors. Michael B. Jordan is so good.
I'm a little disappointed that John Boyega is not joining the Black Panther cast.
Here's my thing. I saw that Daisy Ridley was going to be the new Lara Croft, and I love her to death, but I don't want any of those Star Wars actors to do anything but Star Wars until Star Wars is over, because that's all I'm going to know them as. Like, if Natalie Portman was in something else during Star Wars, then it would be really weird. She was in V for Vendetta, but she shaved her head, so it was different. So
V for Vendetta is a fantastic movie too.
It was fantastic. But yeah, so everyone got their own arc in Civil War, which is really encouraging, knowing that those same two Russo brothers are going to do the Infinity War movies too.
Yeah. So where do you guys put it on your Marvel lists?
Civil War?
Yeah.
It was
5 or 6.
5 or 6. Holy crap! Give me your top 5 then.
Winter Soldier's 1, Guardians is 2, Avengers is 3, Iron Man 1 is 4, and Civil War is 5.
Okay, so you have the same top 5 as me.
Yeah.
Just yours is wrongly ordered.
Right.
Go ahead.
Adam, you're the hot take artist, man. Come on.
Go ahead, Pat.
So I'd have to say, first one. Oh man. All right. So first one would be Winter Soldier, I think. Second one, the first Captain America. I just love that movie so much. Third, Avengers. 4, Civil War. And then, what? I'm trying to remember all the movies. And then probably Iron Man 5. Guardians of the Galaxy doesn't make my top 5.
You mean Iron Man 3? Or 5. Okay, at your
Right.
5 number.
Iron Man 3
Wait,
was
Iron Man
pretty
5. Iron Man 3. Okay.
Yeah.
You said Iron Man 5, and I get like what you mean. Like Iron Man is your
Right.
5th one. Okay.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I've seen Into the Future. There will be a 5.
Oh, yeah.
Iron Man movies. Yeah. So Guardians of the Galaxy doesn't make my top 5, but
That's okay.
All right, we're already pretty deep in, but I still want to talk Thrones. Because anyone who already didn't want spoilers isn't listening anymore anyway. So
Yeah.
I do want to talk Thrones. Pat,
I get to be quiet now.
Adam, you can chime in, dude.
Dude, all I know about
there's
Thrones
Hodor. There's
here's
Hodor.
here's what I know about Thrones, okay? Number 1, they have a giant man that they call Mountain. Number 2,
There's a giant man called Hodor.
There's a giant man named there's a man named Jon Snow. Number 3, he died. Number 4,
John Targaryen.
he came back.
Yeah,
or
basically.
did he?
And I know that there's
Wait.
like rape scenes.
What do you mean, or did he? Hold on.
And I know that there's
I'm
like
just
rape
kidding.
scenes and weird
No,
sex
he
scenes.
definitely came back.
Yeah, he definitely came back.
Anyway, you guys just do your thing, and I'll listen. Chime in
if you want to.
Sell me on Game of Thrones.
Okay. Well, I was gonna start. Pat, I gotta say, I really love how this season's gone so far, and I think it's because they're not constrained to the books. I feel like it felt like in previous years, like a lot of the plots they would have, a lot of the side plots they would have, like it felt forever. The build up to the trial by combat felt like it took forever. A lot of the side plots they would have with side characters, they would have it meander on for a few episodes because they were really trying to hit on every single point that there was in the books, when a lot of the later books by Martin were trash. This season, they're moving everything along. For them to immediately have Daenerys take back last week, take back the call. What was it in episode for Jon to be for Jon to be resurrected in episode 3? For them to start showing the Tower of Joy and that whole arc. I mean, they're really pushing the pace along, actually, making it a good drama. Like, if anything, Martin was holding them back, and they just have the template.
Yeah, it reminds me of how the pace really sped up in Lost's 4th season, because they knew what their end game was, and they finally knew how long it would take to get there, so they could finally start compressing everything and start marching towards the finish line. And they can definitely do that now, because they've said they've got 2 more seasons of this, and now that they don't have to follow, because that's the problem with Martin's books, is that they meander around, because he spread everything out so far, he doesn't know how to bring it back to the center. But the writers clearly have an idea of how they want to do that, and now that they're past the books, they can do whatever they want. So yeah, that's been the hallmark of this season so far, is that every single plot line is progressing so much quicker. We're getting answers for the first time in forever. All these theories that people have speculated forever about. Man, I am so excited to see the rest of this Tower of Joy scene. It just feels more compressed. It feels fun. Like every episode this season has been some of the most exciting episodes of the entire series so far.
I do have to say, and as a disclaimer, that they're probably going to save the Tower of Joy final reveal till the penultimate episode. So maybe that might be a little bit premature for me. I was hoping that they would show it
last week.
Last week, but they're not going to do that. They really have to move along. I mean, to me, they really just some minor things that Daenerys. I wonder why we don't get that Daenerys all the time. Why because when she's at her best is when she's that boss queen that everybody's bowing down to, and that she's just using her power as the Dragon Queen, when she's unsure of herself and confused and everything's collapsing around her, I'm just not a fan of that character. But when she's what we saw last week, that's Daenerys to me becomes the strongest character on the show, other than Tyrion.
Well,
I wonder why I don't get it more often.
Well, the reason is that up until Tyrion arrived, she had to do both be the conqueror and the diplomat, and she's not very good at the diplomat thing. It doesn't really run in the Targaryen blood to be diplomats. She has the power of the dragons, and she's at her best when she can show off that force. But when she's brought down by politics and everything, it's when she becomes her weakest. But now that she has Tyrion to do all that stuff for her, she can go out and be that inspiring figurehead, leader and everything, while Tyrion does the more minutia type thing. So now they can both play to their strengths, and now she can go gather armies and inspire everybody, and while Tyrion cleans up the messes that she makes in the wake. So now we're gonna get more of her being such a badass because she's able to just focus on being a badass, which is great. So yeah, I'm really glad that the whole Vice Dothrak thing didn't play out longer than it did, because they're so boring, the Dothraki are, and now they're acting like teenage boys all the time. So yeah, I'm glad that thread got picked up and closed.
If there were three faults with this show, because it's still a phenomenal show, every scene with Dorne has been awful. They've ruined Dorne. Dorne was supposed to be exotic and amazing, and it's just been shoehorned to one palace, and I don't know why they're still trying to write that in. Maybe because they have like a claim to, maybe because like they can add something to the fight against the White Walkers. Everything with the Iron Islands is trash. I hate the Iron Islands. All the Greyjoys are irrelevant. Maybe they'll factor into the fight for Winterfell.
Hey, Kingsmoot, man, Kingsmoot's coming up.
Yeah, I guess Kingsmoot. But still, like they haven't done that part well. And then
the Iron Islands are going to play a big role because they're going to end up, and this isn't like a spoiler or anything. It's just a hunch. They have the ships that Dany needs to get across the sea. So that's why they're coming back into play, because I figured that they're just going to circle.
Wait, what do you mean but if they're all the way in
there's some navigating they're going to have to do. They're on the other side of everything. But they're the most obvious ship-wise candidates, I think. So I don't know. But okay, so what worries me is that like there's this prophecy in the books or whatever. I forget how it goes, but it basically says that Dany has to go to these like 5 locations or whatever before she could retake Westeros. She's been to all of them so far, which is like Meereen. She's been with the Horse Lords. She's been to the south and everywhere except for Essos, no, not Essos. What is it?
I think it's Essos. I think it's Essos. The Essos where like all the grayscale is, right? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, where the red priestesses and everything are.
Yeah.
Way off in the east. So, but she has to complete that before she gets to Westeros. I hope they just drop that, because I don't want to see her go any farther from Westeros than she already is. Because she just needs to, I don't know. I want to get to the end of the show so I can see Jon Snow fighting Dany or something. You know?
I want to see Jon Snow fighting the Night's King. Like I want an epic.
I keep forgetting about
an epic Vader and Luke like lightsaber fight, but with throne style. You know, like that.
Flaming swords and everything.
With swords, yeah. Who do you think kills Ramsay? Because that's definitely gonna be like.
Whoa! What a spoiler there.
Sorry, Adam. You didn't even watch, man.
You guys are supposed to sell me on it.
It's oh right.
Oh okay. Sorry. Who do you think kills that guy? Yeah.
I don't know how to sell you on Thrones. You just gotta
watch it, man. You watch it and you'll like it. I'm telling you that much. I mean, you agreed with Pat on some of his opinions today, so maybe you'll agree on Thrones. Just watch it.
I think Sansa kills Ramsay. I think she's the one that stabs it, because both for redemption purposes for the writers after last season, and also just because that would be a great final arc for her. Like, that would be really, really badass if she's the one who lands the dagger into his heart, you know?
I think the way it'll happen is that they'll have it all conquered through, and they'll have Ramsay lined up, and Jon is gonna he's gonna do it, but then Sansa will grab the sword from him, and she's like that she wants the duty or something like that. She's like
Right.
that she's been waiting for this for this execution or something.
Yeah, that's why I'm also looking forward to the end of the season, because Ramsay's not making it past the end of the season.
Ramsay's the most cartoonish evil character ever. With Joffrey, he was a good evil guy because you hated him, but you didn't.
But you understood why he was that
understood
way.
it. Ramsay just kills to kill because
Yeah.
he's the bad guy that twirls his mustache that.
Right. Yeah, I don't like him, but he's going to end up meet a pretty quick end as soon as Jon Snow and the Wildlings and who's going up north?
Peter Baelish.
Oh yeah, Littlefinger.
Peter Baelish. Littlefinger's gonna die too. I think Littlefinger's gonna get killed by Jon.
That'd be such a sad end because he's such a schemer. I want to know what his big
but he's
plans
not
are.
a great character either. And his whole scheme, his arc. My hunch is his arc ends this season too because he's gonna die. Because his whole scheme's been to get Winterfell, but he's not gonna get Winterfell.
I think his scheme's bigger than that. I think he's got a bigger scheme than any of us realize.
Well, okay.
He's got plans.
Well, what's the plan?
I don't know. He's better. He's smarter than me. I don't know. Nobody knows.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. What do you think of, I don't know if you saw it. What do you think of the Bran theory that he made the Mad King, that he's the one that made the Mad King go mad with the whispers in the flashbacks? Yeah, I don't know if you saw that.
I haven't heard this theory. So, go ahead.
Okay, so you know how it was when they showed at the Tower Joy scene when the Raven's trying to pull him back out when they stay too long, and then but he yells at Ned, and Ned turns back. Well, I saw a theory that it was a Reddit, so take it for what you will. That they're gonna show more scenes where Bran will eventually he'll start talking to the Mad King.
And he makes the Mad King go mad?
He makes the Mad King go mad because remember how they said that they heard that he went mad because he was hearing voices and he was hearing whispers. I
thought that was explained by the fact that they were inbreeding for so many centuries.
No. I don't. That's just the general Game of Thrones incest, I think.
Right. Yeah, that'll sell you on it.
That'll sell you on it, Adam. Yeah, but that the theory is that when Bran yells at these people in the flashbacks, Ned didn't understand him. He just heard general gibberish, but he didn't have enough exposure to it. While here, it's going to be where Bran's trying to stop him from burning his grandfather alive. But the more Bran talks, the crazier the Mad King gets because he's just hearing Latin speak.
I guess I don't see what purpose that would serve towards the end game at all. I don't know why. It was really confusing to me that Ned turned around and acted like he heard him, because I feel like that has to just be a red herring, because what could Bran possibly do? I don't know why showing Bran is the reason for the Mad King would. I don't know. I just don't see that as a viable thing. I don't know. I can't explain it. I just don't feel like that's probably true or not. I'm interested to see what other old scenes they show other than the Tower of Joy, though, because there's plenty of stuff they could go after.
Well, like what?
Let's see. Oh crap! It all left me. No, I can't think of any. It would be cool to see the dragons burning down Harrenhal and stuff, but I don't know why they would show that. What I think they're going to use Bran for, though, is showing the old Night's Watch, and they're going to show exactly how the Night's King became the thing.
Oh, because he was an original Lord Commander.
And they'll probably reveal the fact that the Night's King is a former Stark. Oh,
that'd be sick.
Yeah. So, yeah, because that was the whole thing. Is that who was it? Was it Bran the Builder? No, it was something else. It's the thing in the books is that it was a former Stark who led the Night's Watch and then fell in love with the White Walker and then became the Night's King. So that would be a really cool circle if they show that the Starks are basically battling themselves and the White Walkers, and that's why Jon Snow has to take down his family or something. I don't know. I think that would be really cool.
Not his family because he's a Targaryen. So.
But he's also Lyanna Stark's daughter.
Oh, okay, technically, so yeah,
Daughter.
he's half
So-
bred.
Yeah, son. Yeah. So, but they're definitely gonna have to use Bran to show like how to beat the White Walkers, because then he's gonna have to leave and show John or something.
I think Bran, because you know how like the theory with the R plus is R plus L or no R plus J.
R plus L equals J.
Yeah. So I think that with the whole Azor Ahai crap, that Bran is the third person. So Jon is one of the person that rides a dragon. Danny rides a dragon, and I think Bran rides the third dragon.
Or
What do you-
Bran becomes the dragon because he can.
Oh, because he can
warg.
warg. Yeah.
Yeah.
That because people have been saying how Tyrion's like that third guy, but he's.
People have said that Mira Reed is the third person.
Oh, stop! I mean, if she was more relevant, they would have be building more of an arc for her. To me,
Because the theory there is that like Howland Reed, her father, was the one who was with Ned at the Tower of Joy. So the theory is that Lyanna had twins, and that Ned took home John, and then Howland took home Mira. So they're actually brother and sister. And then Dany is their other sister in a weird way. So
I guess they could build that up.
But who cares about Mira?
Yeah, who cares about her because they haven't shown her in anything. And in the books, I mean, she hasn't been relevant up to this point as well. I mean,
Yeah.
I could buy the Bran thing. Bran warging into a dragon. Oh, that'd be sick.
Yeah. I think Bran turns into like this wizard and he starts raising people up from the dead, and then they all just start calling him Raisin Bran.
That's a nice segue to finish this pad. Jesus. Adam, are you sold on the show?
No. I have no idea what's going. I have no idea what you guys are talking about. So
it's a show of incestuous killing, suspense, fantasy drama. It's fighting for the throne, fighting for the world. I don't know. I'm trying to be really, really cliche.
It's about sports.
It's about sports, Adam. You like it.
So here's the thing: is I am a little bit of a contrarian, and so when everyone watches Game of Thrones, I'm kind of like, I don't really want to watch Game of Thrones.
Wait, okay. So were you a person that didn't think Breaking Bad was that great?
No, I loved Breaking Bad. Oh my gosh.
Breaking Bad was overrated.
Oh, okay.
Oh my. Okay. Well, we're not gonna get.
No. Okay. Follow us on Twitter.
Follow us on. Yeah.
Don't follow me on Twitter.
Don't follow Pat on Twitter. He was once owned online by the Stars.
Yep, and by Mike Hyka and Kevin Blackistone.
Noted around the horn guy. But anyway.
Wait, Kevin Blackistone owned you?
It's a long story.
I need to know.
Can't get into it.
We'll do
reasons.
Maybe another time.
Yeah, we'll get into it post podcast because I kind of want to hear this. I want to hear this. But anyway, yeah, Adam, just give it a shot, man. Just watch one episode. Stop being a snob. Just watch one episode, dude. Come on, you'll like it.
It's not being a snob. It's that I don't know. It doesn't sound interesting to me. I know everyone likes it, but I don't.
I think if you watch episode 1, it'll be like that where you'll just get onto the loop.
Trust me, by the end of the way episode 1 ends, you'll be like, oh my god, I'm hooked.
Yeah, see, everyone said that to me about like Lost, and I watched.
I
watched Lost, and then I didn't get into Lost.
The first episode of Lost didn't end the way that Game of Thrones did.
Yeah, Thrones has much more of a thing to draw you back in. Like, okay, let's see what happens next.
Okay, well, maybe I'll give it a shot. I make no promises, but
on that note, anyone that's still listening that had all our spoilers, we just finished up our huge, long pop culture conversation.
This is our longest podcast of all time.
This has been our longest podcast of all time, but
we are closing in on 2 hours.
All of the hockey ended an hour. Normally we don't do this, Pat, but we geeked out really, really badly. So I apologize if you had any of these plans.
I had no plans. Well, I have to go here in a bit, but I had no plans.
All right, perfect.
I was gonna read about this stuff anyways, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this has been the Second City Hockey Ice Cold podcast. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
For Pat Iverson, he's one of the NHL dudes. He's an NHL writer for SB Nation. Check his work out over there. Follow him on Twitter at Pat_Iverson. So you can see him get owned by Kevin Blackistone and Dallas Stars in the future.
By the way, it's Iverson SEN, not SON, not like Alan.
Oh yeah, like it's so he's not related to Allen Iverson whatsoever. Just in
Nope.
case anyone wanted any clarification. But yeah, follow him on Twitter. Follow his work at SB Nation NHL. Adam, you have any closing thoughts here? Oh, sorry, hold on.
Subscribe to subscribe to our that every weekday morning.
Wait, say that again. You got.
Say that again. Yeah, there was a lot of lag there.
Oh, sorry. Subscribe to our SB Nation morning newsletter called Morning Skate. Very, very original title. It has a bunch of links, all the info. Sometimes I do weird things like rank the overrated things like pi. Have fun with it. Yeah, but you can find it by going to sbnationnhl.com or just tweeting me and asking me or something. We need a regular sign up page, but yeah, find it somewhere and then follow it. And subscribe.
It'll be on there when you go on SB Nation NHL and you click on there. You'll see the links to subscribe. Everyone. Yep.
Yep, go for it.
Adam, any closing thoughts here?
No.
Okay. Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Adam.
Wait, I do have one. If you're listening to this, and you have not participated in the Second City Hockey 30 Days of Fandom Challenge, start doing that. It's lots of fun. Every day there's a new topic to comment. We've had, and you can go back and do the other ones. Comments aren't closed on those yet. They don't close for 30 days. So you'll have plenty of time to go back and comment. We've had favorite Hawks memory. Why are you a Blackhawks fan? This is not in order either. Favorite Hawks player of all time. Favorite current Hawks player. Jersey you want. Where do you like to sit at the United Center? Where do you like to watch games? Just different topics every single day. We've took the idea from Cage Side Seats, which is SB Nation's pro wrestling blog. They were doing obviously more wrestling centric. And then other blogs have kind of taken that and turned it into other ideas. Stanley Cup of Chowder, I know that's the Bruins blog. They're doing it. Lots of fun. Get to know other Second City hockey fans a little better and get to know me better because I do every single post. So you can know what makes me tick as a fan and some of the other Hawks writers at SCH that chime in as well.
What's the one for today?
Today's actually I don't even know because I scheduled it a couple days ago. Let me find it. Give me 1 sec.
You know who my favorite current Blackhawks player is?
Oh no.
Oh no. I mean, he's not on it anyway.
You know who my favorite Stars player is? Antti Niemi. Remember when he won a cup with the Blackhawks and I don't know how they did that.
I don't know either, man. He sucks.
Dude. Trash. Absolute trash.
What is it, Adam?
I'm trying to find it. Maybe I didn't schedule one for today. Oh, crap.
I feel bad because he did such a great job setting that up, and I'm like, oh yeah, what is it? And he's like, oh.
Yesterday was Jersey you want the most. Maybe I thought I scheduled this whole week, but maybe I didn't schedule today's.
Okay. Anyway, Adam's put a lot of
dang it! I ruined that whole thing.
Adam's put a lot of work into it, guys. So check that out. He'll get back on it. He'll fix that right up. Check out his 30 days. He'll check out his 30 days of fandom posts. Check out Pat's work with SBH and NHL with the Morning Skate. Subscribe to that newsletter. Follow Pat on Twitter at @Pat_Iverson. Follow Adam at _ Adam Hess. Follow the Second City Hockey Ice Cold Podcast, SCH Ice Cold Podcast. Follow a lot of follows here. Follow at Second City Hockey at 2ND City Hockey, where we're always writing up we're really bored in the off season, so we have a lot of stuff for you guys. Other than that, signing off for Pat, for Adam. This has been Robert. This is Robert Zaglinski. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Go Stars.
No.
No.
We're not ending it like that. Go Blackhawks.
Go Blackhawks.
Now end it.
Thanks for listening, everyone.